it's easier to have transportation as a bus as well. So is there anything in the works for that?
That's a great question. I can let you know that I worked with Professor Chandra. I'm not sure if any of you have done science courses here with us, but he's one of our faculty. We worked in collaboration to try to get transportation services through Palm Trend, not just for dual enrollment or early admission students, but all students who may be experiencing transportation challenges. Being where we are in this current economy and collaborating with them, it was a bit limiting. There wasn't much more that they could do other than what we kind of currently already had access to. And we asked if there was anything in the works, but again, because of where we are economically today, they're challenged just as much as we are. I know you heard about John mentioning about our vehicles here, and so one thing that we've done to try to make it more accessible for students through enrollment and early admission is to expand the number of offerings in the high school themselves during their school hours. So we've seen a little bit of growth there in having the classes taught during regular high school hours, and that's always traditionally been a success. But again, we're just trying to expand some of those offerings at this time.
Also, all of our students, not just dual enrollment students, have access to purchasing student discounted bus passes at the bookstores. I don't know the rate off the top of my head, but the best value, there's a 31-day pass at a discounted rate. Typically, you would have to go to the Palm Trend office to purchase it, but we have an agreement with Palm Trend that allows us to sell them through our bookstores at all 5 campuses.
I just wanted to follow up on that. For this cards, we have heard from students that they run out of stock, that they don't have them available as they should in the bookstore, that they go ask for them and they say, oh, we don't have any of them more, they were sold out. Is there any possible that maybe we can think of an idea to do this as something that we can recharge online, maybe something that can turn, or this is completely apart from the college? Is it just a Palm Trend?
It's apart from the college, and we have to physically go to Palm Trend to get them and then bring them back to the bookstore. So really, it's just a matter of getting there, getting them and keeping there. We try to replenish them on a monthly basis.
Right.
I encourage students can always reach out to me. That is something that I handle if they're running into issues or seeing repeated. If I don't know that they're out, I can't get more.
Right.
We do an inventory once a month, but if they happen to run out in between, I may not be notified until then.
Right. Okay, thank you.
And it seems like there's a set amount that Palm Beach State has to request ahead of time, and then we give it out to students as it comes, right? And so that seems to be the case. Interesting. And this is something. Is it only by the bus route? Is there anything we can do by Uber as well, or Lyft, or is that too much out of the scope of things for really complicated things related to transportation? All of the technology.
I mean, that's beyond the scope of what we have the bandwidth to do. Large universities sometimes have deals with Uber and Lyft, but we just don't have the volume to pursue such a partnership.
Okay, no problem. I'm gonna move on to the next question, maybe next topic. Anna, want to ask anything?
Thank you, Ariel. All right, so my first question for the panelists is there anything new or striking that the students of Palm Beach State College can expect following the next term? So like science to do you think you can expect a new voting sports team, maybe a new program of majors? Just a good thing. So yeah, like anything like a newer major we can expect at the school in the following term.
So I'll speak for just a couple of things that are actually happening that are big scale. Next year, we'll be celebrating our 90th year as an institution. So that in itself is a major milestone for us. So you'll start seeing a lot of things happen. One of the bigger things that is planned for next year is the total revitalization of 6th Avenue and the front of this campus itself. this campus will have a total facelift from 6th Avenue. So it'll be a little more high tech. It'll be very, very interesting to see. We're planning up Panther Plaza. Big, in front of the theater. One of that parking lot is going to go away in front of administration. It's going to be a gathering place. So there'll be things of that nature. There'll be a lot of events associated with that. So for this campus, that's what's going to happen. Our cafeteria, our cafe, is going to have a little bit of happiness added to it. We're going to be doing a little painting, and then we're going to ask our students, you guys, to help us paint tiles, ceiling tiles of dreams or inspirational sayings or whatnot, and we'll be putting those up in the cafeteria, and then we'll be looking in for some new comfortable furnishings and making it a nice place to hang. So we're kind of in the process of doing some of these assessments with your input, and then bringing them back and looking at areas around the campus that we could do fairly quickly, create spaces that you'd like to sit in and be part of, and activities going forward. And in addition to that, some of the activities we'd like to bring on campus, bring back debates, actually have debates on campus, and take a look at the pros and cons of issues, hot topics, some of those things. So there's physical things that will be happening. There's some facelifts going to be going on, and activities, and I'll say that for now. I'm not sure if anybody activity-wise or academic-wise wants to speak.
Technology-wise, we're upgrading from Starfish. I don't know if those of you are familiar with Starfish, student advising portal, where you do your academic planning and those kinds of things. That's going away, and a more robust version. The first phase is being rolled out in January, I think the 11th or 12th of January. And so you will see information coming about that. So you will have a different portal to go to, and there'll be other things added to it over the next year and a half or so. So it will be a work in progress for a while. But I think that's very exciting because it'll have greater functionality and be much more sophisticated than Starfish has been. So.
And on the Gardens campus, if you aren't aware of that, the college has signed an agreement with Next Generation for the TGL League, which will start the plan for construction on the building up in the Gardens campus is going to be starting next January, February, with the league starting in 2024. So those of you who do not know about Next Gen, that's being backers of that are Tiger Woods, Rory McIlroy, Serena Williams, et cetera, things along those lines. Part of that agreement too is that they will provide scholarship opportunities for Palm Beach State College students, as well as looking for the expansion on the academic side of the house for majors that fit in with what they're trying to do there from a technological standpoint. I can't speak to exactly what they are, maybe someone else here can, but also there's going to be internship opportunities as well for students. The agreement is signed for about 5 years with 2 options to renew. And so instead of Monday Night Football in January and February, where you can see the TGL League, excuse me, coming live from Palm Beach State College Gardens campus. So I just want to let everyone know about that. Okay.
The only thing I'll add in academic affairs, we are ready to announce some expanded programs in our baccalaureate program. Not yet for fall, but hopefully soon after. As you might know, we've had significant growth in our bachelor's program, our BSN program, for example. I would also have a program for cardiopulmonary for respiratory therapists. And then we will be launching a new program in medical imaging. And that program will really have sort of an umbrella of professional people who are already practicing and licensed, and mostly our graduates, but cooperating with several colleges in the region who then want an advanced degree in medical imaging. So that program will be our next program that you'll be hearing about. It's in the process of state review now. And there's some thresholds that it meets, and other colleges and universities get to comment on it. One positive thing I would tell you is we received a beautiful letter from the dean of the medical school at FAU, who we work with a lot. And she is very supportive of our program, and she's a real innovator thinker. And she was one of the individuals that endorsed our program. So you might think, are we competing with FAU? And what I just said should answer that question. No, it's a cooperative. So hopefully sometime next year I'll get to talk to you about that, but the work is being done now, even though it's not for fall.
I have a couple things I can share too from the auxiliary services perspective. You should see mobile ordering launched for the cafeteria in January, we hope. Also, we hope to be able to start accepting Panther Card as a form of payment in the cafeteria also in January. We're also doing a slow rollout. Our Panther Card has been redesigned for students and staff, a new design. You may have been lucky enough to get one if you've gotten a new card recently, but we'll kind of do a big splash rollout of those in the spring. And from our bookstore perspective, we're launching a program that's been in the works for quite some time called Solid Access. You may have heard this is a program whereby the cost of your course materials is added as a tuition charge. And then you get your materials on the first day of class. It's a discounted rate and it makes it easier. You don't have to go buy the scratch off code, go to the other website to roll it in. We have about 80 courses we're piloting this with for the spring with the hopes that it will continue to grow. So if you would have got emails starting today, if you were enrolled in any of those classes to say, hey, you're enrolled in a Solid Access class, go here if you decide you want to opt out. I think it's kind of crazy to opt out. I can tell you won't get the materials any cheaper than if you're in the Solid Access program, and that ensures that you have the right materials ready to go on the first day of class right in Canvas. So we're really excited about that.
And actually, one last thing, I know it seems like a lot of things happen, right? I just want to also add that through student activities, with the coordination of Mr. Scarpino here and some of the funding that was made available to a number of campuses, we're hoping to roll out esports as a student club. So we're looking at the space in the SAC lounge right now, the Student Activity Center, and we're kind of ironing out exactly what that's going to look like and the transition of all the equipment and the remodeling of the space in order to make that possible. So we're hoping that we can get that rolling for opening fall of this next academic year. We're lucky.
Thank you, everyone. That was all amazing. Very excited.
I just have one follow-up question for the pilot program. How do you make sure, or how will Palm Beach State College make sure that the professors won't change their mind by the time that you have to come to class? Because it has occurred that, you know, I've paid like $200 for a textbook, and then the professor says, leave that alone. We're only going to use this $40 Amazon textbook. So how do we make sure that, like, boom, I'm going to pay for my tuition and the books are going to stay with me?
So for the Solid Access program, the instructor has to opt in or choose to participate in the program. So them opting in for the program is indicating that they are for sure using those materials, because we work hard to bring them to you at a discounted rate. Some of the discounts are up to about 50% off. Some are less than that, but we're at up to about 50% discount. And we're hoping to try to, as we get more programs in Solid Access, to discourage more of what you're saying is happening, because we do know that it happens, unfortunately.
Thank you. So the next question is regarding the advising for students, the academic advising. We have gotten a feel from some of our students, new students. We work in new student orientations, and we deal with a lot of new students and students that go through advising, you know, at the end of every semester. And we want to know that what is the process to hold a little bit more accountable for the advisors and the advice that they give in the individual sessions with the students. And if there's a process like a survey with that information, what is Palm Beach State doing to improve the results and the effectiveness of the advising towards students? Thank you.
Thank you. So if I'm understanding the question correctly, it's a matter of accountability for, I'm assuming, accuracy of information? Is that-
Yeah.
Yes, we wanted, the question mainly, we want to make sure that academic advising is really acceptable for students, but when students get information from these academic advising, they have to go and proceed and execute those suggestions, and sometimes they're not happy with the results. They're not happy that they went down this line in academic advising, took that class, or the whole meeting wasn't very informative to them overall. Maybe they didn't really feel comfortable, they were still confused, something like that, and
That can tie to the customer service.
right, the
part.
customer service, how can we create maybe an evaluation form, more accountability for the advisors, or some type of feedback loop, so to speak, so they can understand, okay, what you're advising is not really helping students, and maybe this is more what they're trying to ask.
From an advising standpoint, there is a survey. And the advisors are, most of them have it on their signature, like if they send you an email confirming what you talked about, that survey link will be there. Others may send you a special email which is asking you to fill out the survey. We need that feedback. Okay, academic advising has gone through a tremendous amount of change in the last year and a half. They used to be campus-based and reported up through the dean's office. They are now a college-wide process. And one of the main reasons we did that was to improve the consistency of information that advisors are providing to students. Because a student could go to 2 different campuses and have 2 different experiences in advising. And so we're trying to streamline that and make sure that it is the same experience across the college. And one of the things that we're doing to support that is the navigate function, which I mentioned earlier. Also on each campus, there is a manager, a site campus manager, and that there's also managers for pathways. And if you are dissatisfied with your advising session or your advisor in particular for some reason, you need to let people know that, okay? Ask to speak to the manager. Talking about life skills and what college is about, one of those things is self-advocacy. And if you are having a problem with something, you have a right to bring it to our attention. And you have a right to get an answer. Okay, so but if we don't know what your particular situation is, we can't help you. So it's very, very important that you take it upon yourself to ask, okay, who's your supervisor? Or go to the counter and say, okay, who's this advisor supervisor? And make that connection and have that conversation.
Yeah, I'll just add to these, they are the experts in the question that you asked. However, in the academic side, do not be shy in reaching out to the program, the department chair, or the associate dean over that area. So we can clarify for you and or register you if there's some sort of oversight. I had several last week, and the board student was just distraught, and the issue was really not that complicated. So they didn't know where to go, which is sort of what you alluded to. So we got that straightened out rather quickly. So sometime, particularly if you're enrolled or you're trying to get into a limited access type program, that program chair really has this stuff down. So don't be afraid, and we have support staff in there also that may help you. Although I agree with everything that was just advised to you, sometimes there's still a question that we use. Don't be afraid to go into the academic, whatever you want to call it, chain of command. And when they get to me, I won't hang up on you. I'll get you registered before I get you off the call. So just a little side note.
As far as the accuracy of the information, along with the centralization of the advising department, one of the new positions that was created is actually a coordinator of training, so that everybody is receiving the same information college-wide, which is what Penny was speaking to earlier, is making sure that consistency is happening.
Yes, thank you.
I just wanted to, you mentioned that there's a survey that they can fill. What are you guys doing with the information from that survey to make, because we can collect data we want and then we collect feedback, but is somebody looking at this and how this is,
The managers and the college-wide director
okay,
are looking at that.
right,
Okay, and so, go ahead and fill it out. It's not a very lengthy survey,
Right.
but it gives you an opportunity to say this was a good thing or this was not so good.
right,
And make a connection. So, yeah, I highly recommend that you take advantage
Right.
of that.
yeah, because I understand this, sometimes our students come here, they just wanna take classes and they wanna go home, they wanna move on with their lives, they probably have work to do as well. So for them, it's easier to fill out a survey and get their feedback there, than maybe have to go through a struggle and talk to a manager, because they just wanna get stuff done and they wanna,
Sure.
just get it done. But, giving that feedback is important for us to understand what's going on and give like a sense, so I get that. That's very important.
Well, it's no different than if you go to a restaurant and you're just satisfied with the food. If you never go back to that restaurant, they don't really know why. And so if you have a problem with advising and you just go to a different advisor or you stop going to advising, we don't know what the problem is. And we can't fix what we don't know about.
And one thing if I can add, the selection of the specific classes that students are to take, in some cases, in certain programs, it's dictated from start to finish, there's cohorts. And so every term exactly what you're supposed to take. There's others that you have a lot more flexibility. And so advising at the core is really trying to work with the student and assessing what works well as a good schedule for this semester. And that could mean that there's multiple options of what that looks like, depending on what you're studying. And so I'm not sure if part of the question was that students may not be satisfied with the types of schedules that are being recommended, but if it's more customer service related, I think everything that we've kind of spoken about is safe on it.
And oftentimes scheduling is a result of the academics programs and how they structure and schedule their courses.
Yeah.
And of course, the other thing is the early bird gets the good seats, okay? And when students wait until December to register for spring, it's likely they're not gonna get a good schedule. And so that's another piece to the puzzle. It's not an easy fix.
Yeah, I had a question about, what is Palm Beach State doing to just create an overall positive work environment for the staff and just let that positivity transfer on to new students and just overall students who are here as well? There are complaints sometimes where just coming into the college, it can seem like you're asking one question to one person, asking another question to another person, and one person might have a friendly face and a friendly response. And we all have bad days, so I completely understand. But what is Palm Beach State College doing to make sure that every campus is being as Panther proud as possible constantly? Yeah.
I think the college is trying lots of things. The president has been on a listening tour of sorts to get feedback, as well as the provosts on each campus. And lots of programs, they've adopted a flexible work, I don't know what the exact term is, but allowing certain departments, if it meets certain criteria, that you can have a flexible work schedule and work location. I think helps with morale and such. Just looking at it's more HR things, maybe Deborah Ann can jump in, some things that are being done, she doesn't like that, I just pointed her out. But I think that, just listening and trying to see what needs to be done, it's a difficult time for everyone, so I think the college is working hard to listen to employees and kind of see what can be done to help.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. So my next question is, are there any notable careers and resources for students post graduation?
Career Center is available to our alumni. Are you aware we have a Career Center?
Yeah, I know.
Okay, is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, or like maybe like a lot to like university, with any universities, like those students into work study, or is any career path possible?
I'm not sure I'm following.
Yeah, like, okay, like, so say if I were to transfer to like FAU, passion like with FAU, do you guys like, what's on, so like, put these students into work study positions, or is there like more massive career paths and workspaces?
I know there are frequently times during the year that those universities participate in activities on all of the campuses, but obviously mostly here. And they send representatives who are recruiting, but they're also very well aware about other opportunities like work study, internships, connections to particular related academic areas for working. And they've done, we've heard of our graduates having very good experiences, particularly if they get connected. For someone that visits FAU is a prime example, that FIU as well. Lynn University comes here and talks about internship. Palm Beach Atlantic University, Nova recruits here heavily, and there should be some incentive. Some of these are private institutions, some of these are part of our public SUS system, so the tuition is very, very varied. But if you speak to these individuals, there are opportunities that someone never asked. We've heard some really good success stories of our graduates who have, made those inquiries and made those connections early on campus, and then when they transferred, really, really hooked up well, really connected well, particularly if it has a focus on something that they're going to study, and they may have found their niche. Anyway, that's just my academic 2 cents, but I think it's a good question because those students do well and complete at a higher level than those students who didn't seek those connections and opportunities. So sure, it's a nice thing to do, but that's really not enough. It actually is a good thing for the individual, because they wind up succeeding. What like you did here, you would want to continue that at your transfer to university.
Thank you.
Yeah, maybe I am a counselor.
Yeah, well, a lot of that is program based, for sure, faculty member to faculty member, institution to institution.
All right, that sounds good. Thank you for answering those questions. I also wanted to make sure we do have food in the back, and you guys can just go ahead and eat that. But if you guys are short on time afterwards, you guys can just go ahead and grab it. Or box lunches, you can take them on the go. If not, that would be the most convenient. But before we move on, the next segment of our town hall is we want to make sure we have the floor open for the house. If they have any questions of themselves, anybody on the spot, if you have any questions you guys want to ask, the administration right here, right now, as well as anybody online. So I wanted to make sure I give everybody an opportunity before I ask a couple questions of my own that we generated here. But does anybody else have any questions? If they want to ask, just to give them an opportunity. Oh, we got a contender. All right. Thank you very much. Just go ahead and say your name and who you are, and go ahead with your question. Thank you.
Hi, Faith Moreno, president of the Doki Doki Anime Club across all 5 campuses. We have actually been trying to figure out the transportation situation ourselves because a lot of our club members are dual enrolled or early enrollment, and we had kind of tossed around the idea of maybe setting it up where students who do have cars and would be willing to give rides within a certain radius of themselves could be put in some sort of database where students who don't have access to transportation could then go in and request maybe a ride and have that sent to their student email. How feasible would that be for all of the campuses?
Yeah, there's information as far as carpooling, ride sharing goes. The college does support the county ride share program, and we have dedicated spaces in parking lots. And so you would have to go through their website and sign up, and you can access that through the campus security webpage. Okay. If you go to my pbsc.edu, put in security, there's information there on the rideshare program for the county.
Okay, thank you.
And just to confirm, you're just talking about a portal and you just want live feedback, so to speak, live.
Yeah.
Real-time information.
Yeah.
And so you think there's something like that, like live time or not
The
really?
county has a rideshare program and we participate in it. And
Okay,
anybody that signs up to be a driver and other people can ride with them, they have they have designated parking spaces, so they don't have to look for a parking space. And so, and they get a tag from the county that says they're part of the rideshare program. Okay, what you're talking about, I think, is more of a student-led kind of a thing whereby you would, through some piece of software or social networking opportunity, you might create an internal ride share. Okay, that would have to be student generated because the college cannot tell you who you should ride with.
Yeah.
Okay, so you need to be mindful of that. So if your student organization wanted to use a tool, whatever, WhatsApp or whatever it was, to set up this rideshare program, you could do that. Okay, but that would be purely voluntary and student generated.
okay, thank you very much. Moving on to the next question. Hi, how are you? Just say your name and your question.
Hello, my name is Kimberly Nicholas, and I'm an early admin student. I had a question about the academic advising. I know you guys don't really offer that for early admin enrollment because you want us to talk to our counselors. But sometimes our counselors aren't the best. They don't explain to us what's the next career path or what we should do. Because I want to go into pre-dentistry and my counselor had no idea what to do. If I was in any other club organization such as TRIO, I would not get that academic advising. Have you guys tried to incorporate that with early admin students or dual enrollment students? I know there's a plethora of students and it might be difficult, but it's still complicated on our side because sometimes our counselors aren't the best people to give us that advising because they only know it on a high school level and not the college level.
Thank you for that question. That's actually, it's been a challenge over several years to try to make sure that the communication is clear about what the advising is when it comes to dual enrollment or early admission. It doesn't surprise me that you've heard referrals back to your high school counselor because part of the process requires that the courses that you're being recommended for have to meet some type of high school graduation requirement. So we get that. But through academic advising, there is another level of expectation for dual enrollment and early admission advising that they provide you, like you said, pre-dentistry, is that what you said?
Yeah.
That they provide you on a career path for college, what kind of courses are necessary for that path. And so you are supposed to be receiving that from our academic advisors for college planning, college course planning. But just make sure that the communication is clear. Say, yes, I know I'm dual enrollment or I'm early admission. However, if I were to come here for an AA degree and want to take all the sciences necessary for the pre-dentistry, what courses do I need? They should be able to map that out for you, and then you can take that back to your high school and say, these are the courses that they recommended for me for this academic pathway. What may I use to satisfy a high school graduation requirement? So it should be that you can start with our academic advisors first, and then follow up with your high school advisor, your high school counselor, excuse me. But yes, I know that's a challenge because the moment some folks hear dual enrollment or they hear early admission, their mind is, oh, you need to speak with your high school counselor. But just make it clear, you want to map out your academic criteria for college first before you meet with your high school counselor.
What high school are you at?
Waiting.
Which,
High school. All right. I believe you have another contender here. How are you? Say your name and your question.
My name is Tyranny Woods. So I just had a question about what this young lady was asking. Remember we used to have the open house for the campus and they could see all the departments. Do we still have that prior to the semester starting? Because that might be something you could come to maybe make some connections, because college is about networking. Here I'm Professor Woods, I teach psychology. I would love to have more. Yes. I got it in there. It's such an elective for everything. Okay, thank you. But really, I'm serious. Do we still have that? Remember we used to have the. Help me out. What is it called? I don't know.
We had a name for it, pre-pandemic, what was that?
Yeah, pre-pandemic, we used to have college recruitment open houses, and all the programs would be represented, and the parents and the students could go around and talk to the programs, yeah.
But what about early, like before the week? Early, when they can come during the holiday break and register early, there are people on campuses. Are you gonna be at this campus? Are you gonna be at this campus? It's the best campus to be at, but.
Thank you very much. She'll get with you afterwards. Thank you very much for your commentary. Thank you very much. So, we're gonna move on to our next question. President will ask for us.
So, Ms. Professor Woods, this semester we did have an open house. We work with recruitment and we did have an open house. But I think maybe you're referring to the tailgate, which was something different. I'm not sure. No? Okay.
But that sounds like a great thing too.
Okay. Well, we will definitely put that in the works, maybe.
One of my
I have a question for security. So what is Palm Beach State College doing to improve like overall campus security and just the well-being of students? And how is Palm Beach State College like educating students about the security protocols on every campus? If in the event something does happen, like how are we like educating students on that? Where do they access that information? And yes.
Do I start? Palm State College, right now we're going through a phase where.
Use the microphone.
We're having difficulties, hiring people at this time, because, what we try to do, we try to have as much security as we can. But right now, we're having issues hiring qualified people, you know, because one of our motto is that we try to hire well-trained security personnel, people with background in law enforcement, military. But for now, you know, we're doing our best to get as many people as we can, you know, to make sure we have regular patrol, not just boat cart or vehicle, but that we have be patrolling that anywhere you go on campus, you should see a security officer. That's why we change our uniforms in this color, so that you can ask us questions relating to directions. We try to escort you rather than just pointing out directions to you. Of course, we have cameras here on campus which monitor 24/7. If for whatever reason you are having an issue or like we got a lot of stalking, people complain about being stalked. If you feel not safe or whatever, you can always call security and we will come to you and escort you. We also will transport you, give you a ride wherever you want to go, campus. What else?
And Mr. Scarpino can also help out with this, but we're a part of what I understood the question to be happened to be related to our plan of action to inform students and to inform faculty and staff of protocols that are necessary for safety. And so we have revamped since COVID for the Lake Worth campus as well as other campuses, making sure that we have ongoing building coordinator trainings. Building coordinators are responsible for their specific buildings to make sure that all of the protocols happen anytime there's a drill or a real live event. So that is actively happening now for Lake Worth campus, and we've already had a few drills to date. These things will be anything from an evacuation process, a lockdown process, sorry, it's active shooter. Shelter in place, thank you. And so those are the primary three that we actively drilled for. And so you may have already participated in one, you may have heard something on a nearby building from where we are right now recently, but those are going to continue to happen just to make sure that everybody is aware. And part of the issue also is making sure that even if you understand that it's a drill, make sure that you respond as though it were not. Because in some cases, you may even see some staff who may want to continue to do what they're doing in their office and not necessarily respond. But we have to treat this with the respect it needs and make sure that we take all the relevant steps so that the drill is successful, so that we can self-assess what things work, what things didn't work, and how can we improve it. And so that
Per day and even day.
The emergency operations report or document is available on the security website as well. And it outlines what happens in the case of a hurricane, what happens in the case of a bomb threat, an active shooter, those kinds of things. So it's a very detailed document. There's probably more information than you would want to know, but it does exist and it is available on our webpage.
And of course, you guys can help us out too. If you see something going on that's not safe or whatever, come to us and we look into it and make sure that we prevent stuff. We rather prevent it before it happens.
That piece is so critical, and we have had things that we were able to successfully address because you guys are the eyes and ears of the college in more locations than what we are. We're very limited in numbers, but your assistance is crucial to the success of our safety as well.
Thank you.
All right, sounds good. Speaking of security, we don't want this to be too controversial, but we want some excitement. So this question was asked by Peter just for the record, this question was asked by Peter Barbados years ago in the same very room, considering everything that was happening, considering that we did have a report back in October that there was somebody on change.org wanting to shoot the school. Should Palm Beach State consider having armed security? Now, at the time, Peter Barbados said it wasn't necessary, that there was some type of assessment going on in the school, and it really wasn't necessary. But considering that there was maybe this report, is it still not necessary, or maybe there's other better ways, more efficient ways, and maybe ways to solve the problem better? Like you said, maybe that you just can't hire people, or is that a consideration, or?
We've been around this, we've been over this several times, and it all comes down to what the college. And they don't think that we need armed security to be here. We are thinking of alternatives, like maybe hire like a member or two from PBSO to be on our campuses, to have them readily available should in case we should have like an active shooter situation here. But as far as arming security officers, the last time I checked, and so we know it would be just too much. Too much.
Go
ahead.
I want to make sure that you're aware of a process that the college has. It's a behavioral intervention team, which is a practice that is nationally accepted on college campuses for the purpose of identifying students that are in crisis and may possibly be a threat to themselves or others. And we have that process in place. Professor Woods actually sits on the team here. It's called the Panther Care Team. There's information on the Panther Voice page where you can learn a lot of information about how to advocate for yourself in the college, but also learn how we support students. And so basically what the team does is identify through reports from faculty and staff, students that may be in crisis or may need an additional level of support. The intent is to provide them with that access to resources, wraparound support services, if you will, and then help them stay in school and stay on track, okay? On occasion, we get reports of a student who may be threatening. And then we work with campus security, we work with the sheriff's office, and we identify, and that's exactly what happened with that change.org situation. A student notified us. And security was notified, the sheriff's office was notified, and it went just as it should have gone. It was a perfect response to a very difficult situation. But so know that we have processes in place. And that we are constantly looking for those kinds of things. And I know Ronnie has some things to say from the dean's office, but that culture of reporting, when you see something, say something, is huge.
Actually, I just wanted to also clarify about that case, because I think there was some misinformation as far as a threat to
Yes.
our school,
Yes.
and that wasn't the case. And I'm not just saying that it couldn't have been, but I just want to at least dispel that, because I've heard that time and again, and the individual did not threaten Palm Beach State College. But as Penny mentioned, absolutely, the process took form. It happened every step of the way it needed to, until the person was apprehended. Fortunately, it was resolved in that way. Again, the website that she mentioned, if you go to palmbeachstate.edu, just type in Panthers Voice. And so you can see there, it's for reporting a number of different things, but one of them is for the Panther Care team. And so feel free to use that. Anybody, it's open access. You don't even have to log in to authenticate. So spread the word.
Thank you very much. Yeah, and I also do want to add to that, because I know that people, considering that a student government association, right? People always have opinions, and they're very adamant about their opinions, and so it's good to have an opinion and be concerned about things, but don't do nothing drastic. Come in, talk about it, talk with Panther's Voice, talk, and if anybody is out there frustrated and very angry, don't do nothing drastic. Come in, we'll talk about it, like we said, and we'll solve any problems that we have, and SGA, student government, creates this environment where we can talk about things and we can address things that bothers us, and it's always a good relieving environment after the fact. Students always feel replenished and more aware and more empowered, so to speak, that they're more aware of what's going on, and they do feel like their voice is heard, to a good degree. And that pretty much wraps up all the questions we have, and we might have one more from our student trustee, Lorena, and I'm going to give the microphone to her so she has an opportunity. Here you are.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much to the panelists for taking your time in answering our questions, to the student government for creating this event, and to all of you that are here. It's more a suggestion. I have two questions and one suggestion. The first thing, going back to Professor Woods, I don't know if maybe you were referring to the career fair. No?
I know, right? I'm not being helpful with that.
Okay, it's just, I was wondering if maybe since we have this career fair once a year, perhaps it might, this is a very important opportunity for us to start networking, but some students are not aware of the importance, or maybe we don't know how to approach to some employees or ask questions and those things. So would Palm Beach State be willing, perhaps we could create workshops before this career fairs to help students on getting prepared to how to go to the career fairs, to make sure that they bring a notebook to write on questions or ask for business cards, those type of things.
That's a great suggestion, but if you're adding on to it. then
No, I
I'll
just
give
thought
you the floor.
fantastic suggestion.
All right.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I think our Career Resources Center, which I know Penny mentioned earlier, they really are the appropriate department that can do these kind of things, and they've gone through a centralization as well, similar to academic advising. They've also been in more of a collaboration with Career Source Palm Beach County, and so through those opportunities, they actually can work with our students to do resume writing skills, job preparedness and interviewing skills. They've done those traditionally, but we can always look to take more suggestions as to what can help students to navigate those conversations better at a particular career fair or job fair. There's been a shift in the college and the way that we've operated, moving more toward pathways. And so you may have realized, depending on when you apply to Palm Beach State, that you have to identify what is your academic pathway. There's these learning communities that have come to be by pathway, which involve student services as well as academic affairs, to be able to host events as well that are specific to those pathways, and they involve, in some cases, career fairs on a smaller scale and more relevant to the fields that they cover. But we're kind of in a transition, and so we probably will see more large college-wide events as well as those more tailored pathway events happening. So, very good suggestion.
And the next question is actually for the students. You know, communication is everything, and I wanted to ask all of you, what is the best way? Because I'm aware that many students, I don't know, well, how many, I don't want to put you like in a conference or, yeah, but how many of you check your student email regularly? Okay, I just wanted to ask, what would be the best way for the leadership to communicate with you? If it's not the student email, what do you take the most, you know?
So you said messaging? So like text messages probably is much faster. I know that the school sends out text messages. I don't know who's in charge of that. A lot of times it's for promotion. But yeah, that seems to be one of the best. I ask the students that too. That seems to be very quick and responsive. And then
Thank you. Yes, just clipping to what Lorena was saying, that my next question, was about promoting. We have asked a lot of questions, and the resources apparently are there. We have resources such as the Panther cards, the palm trading cards. We have, you know, the Panther gear, a lot of stuff we don't know about, the advice and the links, all this stuff that we have resources available, but students don't know about. So we just act like we don't have it. And then most of the time is because we don't know. So I don't know, it's any of you guys in charge of like the social media, like the communication part of the college. But I think right now the social media is being so important for young people to understand that maybe we could have this information available in Twitter, in a Twitter account and an Instagram account from the college that can not only help us for the resources for security updates as well, because this is the most powerful computer. We have it all in our pockets. And it's just such a waste that, you know, emails and stuff like that, where we just get a notification, even at Canvas, we all have Canvas in our phones. So how could the school implement what we already have? Because we know we have different things like text message, like emails, like Engage, but there's so many things that we're not gonna check so many of them. We can use like Canvas that we use every day for our classes, just to have a, you know,
Feed.
Feed or something just coming up. Use this resource is available, you know, that we can really take a look on. And I even thought about, for example, when you were clarifying that that was not a threat to our college, maybe it can show up a video of someone explaining what it was and clarifying that way we feel safe. In such a way that you guys can show us through social media, through our platform, what's actually going on and the resources that are available. I know there are works in that, but just, I feel like it's a makeover that the college has to go through, because websites are getting old right now. And a lot of people is not accessing websites anymore. It's gonna be apps, it's gonna be something that has to be interactive more than a website. So I know that we're trying to make our website nice and have it recorded again, but we are already a little bit late for that. The apps and our phones are the next stage going on for 10 years. So yeah, if you guys could communicate that and have social media be a big part of communicating with us, I feel like that's how students communicate now.
do you guys have questions or the answer? Oh, you have a question.
I have a comment about what you said.
Okay.
But go ahead, why don't you go first? Okay, since I've been running. And then, while we have students in the room, this has always been a conversation for us
as leadership to determine how much, I'm sorry. Who am I? Yes, Dr. Keith. It's been a conversation in different service areas to identify how much communication is overwhelming for students. How much communication and how often. So I'm liking the fact that you're sharing, and just while we have a few of you in the room, just wanted to get your feedback on that, because we've thought about identifying a way in which we streamline the communication. So if there's one communication coming out from the college, perhaps it's everything that day versus getting 7 or 8 different independent messages about different things. So we just would like your feedback on how we should communicate. I know the president now is doing weekly YouTube videos, and she's sharing some updates around the college, and hopefully that's coming to you. I believe it does come to your Palm Beach State email, but we'd like to know how you'd like us to communicate and how much communication is considered overwhelming.
I'm just gonna jump on, I'm gonna be a Palm Beach State advocate. So there are tons of ways people communicate. We said it, text, emails, call me, Teams, Zoom, what's up? It's not what's up, it's what. But here's the one thing, I don't know if y'all are knowing, and I follow, Palm Beach State does a beautiful job on Instagram. And they are doing that, so I don't think, Dr. K, I think that's a great thing, but all of us access several things. And Palm Beach State, I think it's doing it, because I see Deb on the Instagram, I was on Instagram for there, and it's current, it's fresh. So maybe as professors, I always am thinking of ways I can tell students things there, like remind students, like sometimes they don't even know, I can get a computer, they don't even know. I'm like, so the next semester, I think I'm gonna do a field trip and just walk up there and take all the computers there as a enrollee. But you're right, sir, there's so much great. They don't know we have a counseling center. We talked about, let's talk about things. Well, we got a counseling center that does groups, and they're just waiting for you students to say what kind of groups you want. We got student engagement, free lunch once a week to hear information. And then they go, I don't know about it. So it is not one way. I think it's this. We need to have communications with students, staff, professors that maybe more often. I know my colleagues at times, they don't want to get out of the class, but let's get out of the class and come together so we can hear what everyone is saying, and then we made little baby step changes. That'll become grown-up people changes down the road. So that's what I think, communication.
If I could touch on part of what Tomas mentioned about maybe in Canvas, to include some information there. And I know that Director Joshua Kings, as well as Professor Manuel Alvarado are working to update Canvas with some resources of different departments within the college, so it'll be readily accessible for all students as well as faculty right within Canvas. And that's an ongoing project that we're hoping will be one soon. But that's just one piece to touch on what you were mentioning.
Hi, I'm Inga Moore, Student Activities Manager, and I just want to touch on what he said, because that is true. What you said is true as well. Yes, we do put our events and information on Instagram, but not everybody follows us. All students have to use Canvas, am I correct? So if they all have to use it, I think that would be the perfect place, like he said, because you have to use Canvas, you don't have to follow us on Instagram. So if anything, I would agree with you with that Canvas would be the perfect place to scroll anything that's very pertinent that students need to know.
Yeah, Canvas. I know everybody does use Canvas. I think also it seems that everybody has to use the Palm Beach State app to some degree, maybe. It seems like they make you download it and log in through there. And I played around with that app, and as well as you have a lot of icons when you open the app. Is there a chance that can we get a feed on that app or to promote all the different events? You know, we would get a feed, so to speak. There was something like that in Old Panthers web. they were able to attach sort of a window, yeah, I remember. And so I don't know if you can somehow incorporate that in the app, and so the main thing is really the feed, and then there may be like buttons on the bottom tab, like a bar, and that's the login for only the important things like register, classes, that main bar tab on the bottom is for the important things, but then that feed, and then you might have like the lines in the top corner with everything else, because you have a lot of icons on there. And it seems like it just gets drowned out, like a little bit, like you don't know what is what, and so it seems very busy. I work in digital marketing, and I always feel like simple designs go a long way, because it's less confusing. So I don't know if that was a chance that we can incorporate that, or is that too difficult? I don't know. I don't know.
Sorry, I wrote it down so that we don't have somebody from the IT team with us today, but absolutely, it's something to be looked into and see how we can communicate potentially through the student app. So it's a data feed of information for the student app.
Yeah, that sounds, it would help promote everything else and communicate everything else, with students or what they needed to do. But, yeah, that's a good suggestion, and, I think the administrations have a lot of, subject matter that they can work on. They're gonna, go back to their departments, and I'm sure they have a lot of things that they can work on, and they're gonna work towards, and we really appreciate you guys again for hearing us out and answering our questions, and we thank you all for attending the event as well and being interactive and asking questions as well. And this is Student Government Association, and if you guys want, go ahead and grab the box lunch. We're going to adjourn this meeting at about 12:30, and we appreciate all of you for coming here. Thank you.
Was the market